My dear friend, I want to speak with you today about something that touches the lives of all human beings, something that many struggle with in silence, something that pulls at the mind and weakens our inner peace. I want to speak with you about lust and how it affects the clarity of your mind, the strength of your spirit, and the freedom of your heart. Before we begin, I want you to know that there is no judgment here. There is no shame in what I am about to share with you. We are all walking the same path, all learning the same lessons, all facing the same human challenges. The Buddha taught us to look at ourselves with compassion, with honesty, and with the gentle eyes of understanding. Lust is a fire, my dear friend. It is a fire that burns in the mind, a fire that consumes our attention, a fire that takes our energy and leaves us empty. This fire is not evil. It is not something to hate, but it is something to understand. When we understand the nature of this fire, we can learn to let it cool, to let it settle, to let it pass. The mind is like a clear pool of water. When the water is still, you can see all the way to the bottom. You can see the pebbles, the sand, the truth of what lies beneath. But when the wind blows and the water becomes disturbed, you cannot see clearly anymore. Everything becomes blurred, confused, distorted. Lust is like that wind, my dear friend. It disturbs the waters of your mind. When lust arises in the mind, it brings with it a powerful craving. This craving tells you that you must have something, that you must possess something, that you must satisfy this burning desire. The craving convinces you that happiness lies in the object of your desire, that peace will come when you fulfill this longing. But this is an illusion, my dear friend. This is a trick of the mind. The Buddha taught us that craving is the root of suffering. Not just the craving for sensual pleasures, but all forms of craving, all forms of grasping, all forms of clinging. When we crave something, we become attached to it. When we become attached, we suffer. When we suffer, our minds become weak, confused, and clouded. Think about a time when lust arose strongly in your mind. Perhaps you saw someone who attracted you, or perhaps you encountered images or thoughts that stirred this energy within you. Notice what happened to your mind in that moment. Did it become more clear or less clear? Did it become more focused or more scattered? Did you feel more at peace or more agitated? Most people, when they are honest with themselves, will notice that lust creates a kind of fog in the mind. Thoughts begin to circle around the object of desire. Fantasies arise, one after another, each one pulling you further away from the present moment. Your attention, which could be used for so many valuable things, becomes trapped in these endless cycles of wanting. This is how lust weakens your mind, my dear friend. It takes your mental energy, your attention, your clarity, and it scatters them like leaves in the wind. Instead of having one focused, clear mind, you have a mind divided against itself, a mind pulled in many directions, a mind that cannot rest. The Buddha spoke often about the nature of desire. He taught us that desire itself is not the problem, but our relationship with desire. We all have desires, we all have needs, we all have natural energies that move through us. This is part of being human. But when we become enslaved by these desires, when we lose our freedom to them, then they become chains that bind us. Lust is a particularly strong form of desire because it connects to such deep biological drives. Nature has designed us to feel attraction, to feel sexual energy, to feel drawn toward union with others. This energy served a purpose in the survival of our species. But in the modern world, this energy is constantly stimulated, constantly triggered, constantly inflamed by images, by media, by the culture around us. Your mind was not designed to handle this constant stimulation, my dear friend. Your ancestors lived in small tribes where they might see a few dozen people in their entire lives. Now you can see thousands of attractive faces in a single day, scrolling through your phone. Each image, each video, each photograph triggers that ancient response in your brain, releasing chemicals, creating cravings, stirring the waters of your mind. When you allow yourself to indulge in lust repeatedly, you train your mind to seek more and more stimulation. The mind becomes like a hungry ghost, always wanting, never satisfied, always looking for the next object of desire. This is not freedom, my dear friend. This is slavery. The hungry ghost is a powerful image from Buddhist teachings. These beings are depicted with tiny mouths and huge, empty bellies. No matter how much they try to consume, they can never be filled. They are forever hungry, forever suffering, forever seeking satisfaction that never comes. When we live in lust, we become like hungry ghosts in our own minds. Every time you give in to lustful thoughts, every time you feed this fire with your attention, you make it stronger. The neural pathways in your brain become more established, more automatic, more powerful. What begins as a small habit becomes a compulsion, and what begins as a compulsion can become an addiction. I have seen many people suffering from this, my dear friend. I have spoken with young men and women whose lives have been damaged by their inability to control their lustful impulses. They tell me they feel ashamed, they feel weak, they feel trapped. They want to stop, but they cannot. The habit has become too strong, the pattern too deeply ingrained. But here is what I want you to understand. You are not your lust. You are not your cravings. You are not your impulses. These things arise in your mind, but they are not you. They are like clouds passing through the sky of your awareness. The sky remains untouched, unchanged, pure. You are that sky, my dear friend, not the clouds. When you begin to see lust as something separate from yourself, as a phenomenon that arises and passes away, you begin to gain power over it. You begin to see that you have a choice. You do not have to follow every impulse. You do not have to obey every craving. You do not have to let this fire consume you. The practice of mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, without identification, without reaction. When a lustful thought arises, you simply notice it. You say to yourself, here is a lustful thought. Here is a craving. Here is desire moving through my mind. You watch it the way you might watch a bird flying across the sky. You do not chase it, you do not feed it, you simply observe it. This practice requires patience, my dear friend. It requires gentleness with yourself. You will not master this overnight. You will have moments of success and moments of failure. You will have days when you feel strong and days when you feel weak. This is natural. This is part of the path. What matters is that you keep practicing, that you keep returning to awareness, that you keep choosing freedom over slavery. When lust weakens your mind, it affects every area of your life. Your work suffers because you cannot concentrate. Your relationships suffer because you are not truly present with the people you love. Your spiritual practice suffers because your mind is too agitated to meditate, too scattered to find peace. The energy that could be used for creativity, for growth, for service to others is wasted on empty fantasies and fleeting pleasures. Think of your mental energy as a precious resource, like water in a desert. You have a limited supply each day. How you choose to use this energy determines the quality of your life. If you pour all your water onto the sand, letting it soak away uselessly, you will have nothing left for the journey ahead. But if you conserve your water, if you use it wisely, if you protect it carefully, you will have what you need to reach your destination. Lust drains your energy, my dear friend. This is not just a spiritual teaching. This is something you can verify in your own experience. After indulging in lust, whether through actions or through prolonged fantasy, notice how you feel. Do you feel energized and alive, or do you feel depleted and empty? Do you feel clear and focused, or do you feel foggy and tired? The body and mind tell us the truth if we are willing to listen. The ancient yogis and monks understood this principle deeply. They taught that sexual energy is creative energy, and when it is preserved and transformed, it can fuel tremendous spiritual and mental accomplishments. When this energy is constantly leaked away through lust and indulgence, nothing great can be built. The foundation remains weak. But let me be clear about something important, my dear friend. I am not teaching you to hate your body or to reject your natural human feelings. The Buddha taught the middle path, the path that avoids both extreme indulgence and extreme denial. We do not torture ourselves. We do not create new suffering through harsh rejection of our nature. We simply bring wisdom and awareness to our desires. There is a difference between natural, healthy sexuality within the context of a loving relationship and the compulsive, scattered energy of lust. One comes from connection, from intimacy, from love. The other comes from craving, from objectification, from the endless pursuit of pleasure that can never truly satisfy. When you are with someone you love, when there is genuine intimacy and connection, the energy moves in a different way. There is presence, there is mutuality, there is care for the other person as a whole human being, not just as an object of desire. This kind of connection does not weaken the mind in the same way. It can actually bring peace, can create bonding, can deepen love. But lust without love, desire without connection, craving without care, these things pull you away from your center. They fragment your attention, they waste your energy, they leave you feeling more alone than before. The pleasure is brief, but the emptiness that follows is long. I want you to understand the mechanism of how this happens, my dear friend. When lustful thoughts arise and you give them your attention, certain chemicals are released in your brain. Dopamine floods your system, creating a sense of excitement, anticipation, desire. Your brain begins to associate these thoughts with reward, with pleasure, with satisfaction. But here is the trap. The actual experience can never match the promise of the fantasy. The real encounter with the object of desire will always fall short of what your mind imagined. This creates a gap, a disappointment, a sense that something is missing. So the mind seeks more, seeks something better, seeks the perfect experience that will finally satisfy this craving. This is the cycle of addiction, my dear friend. Craving leads to action. Action leads to brief pleasure. Pleasure fades into emptiness. Emptiness creates more craving. Round and round the wheel turns, and each time it turns, the mind becomes a little weaker, a little more enslaved, a little less free. The Buddha compared this to a man drinking salt water to quench his thirst. The more he drinks, the thirstier he becomes. The salt water provides momentary moisture on the tongue, but it cannot truly satisfy. In fact, it makes the thirst worse. This is how lust works. Each indulgence creates a greater need for the next indulgence. Breaking free from this cycle requires a different approach. It requires understanding that true satisfaction does not come from getting what you crave, but from being free from craving itself. The peace you are seeking cannot be found in any external object, in any image, in any fantasy. It can only be found within, in the stillness of a mind that has learned to rest in itself. This is where meditation becomes so important, my dear friend. Meditation is not about forcing your mind to be empty or blank. It is about training your mind to be present, to be aware, to be free from the constant pull of craving and aversion. When you sit in meditation, you practice letting thoughts arise and pass away without following them, without identifying with them, without being controlled by them. At first, this practice is difficult. Your mind is used to following every thought, chasing every desire, running after every sensation. When you try to sit still, it rebels. It throws up all kinds of thoughts, all kinds of distractions, all kinds of cravings. This is normal. This is part of the process. Do not be discouraged. Each time you notice that your mind has wandered, each time you notice that you have been lost in a lustful fantasy, you simply bring your attention back to your breath, back to the present moment, back to the sensation of sitting. You do this gently, without judgment, without criticism. You do this with the patience of a mother watching over a restless child. Over time, something begins to shift. The thoughts still arise, the desires still come, but they have less power over you. You begin to see them as impermanent phenomena, as passing clouds, as waves on the surface of a deep ocean. The ocean itself remains calm, remains undisturbed, remains at peace. This is the wisdom of impermanence, my dear friend. Everything that arises passes away. Every thought, every feeling, every craving, every desire. Nothing lasts. When you truly understand this in your bones, not just as an intellectual concept, but as a lived reality, you stop clinging so tightly to passing experiences. You stop believing that this next pleasure, this next satisfaction, this next fulfillment will bring lasting happiness. Lust promises you happiness, but it delivers suffering. It promises you satisfaction, but it delivers craving. It promises you freedom, but it delivers slavery. These are not my opinions, my dear friend. These are truths that you can verify in your own experience if you are willing to look honestly at your life. Consider the time and energy you have spent in your life pursuing lustful desires. Consider the hours spent in fantasy, in consumption of images, in seeking new sources of stimulation. If you added up all those hours, what would they amount to? Days, weeks, months? And what did you gain from all that time? What lasting value did it bring to your life? Now consider what you could have done with that time and energy. You could have learned new skills, deepened your relationships, developed your creativity, served others, studied wisdom, practiced meditation, built something meaningful, grown as a person. All of that potential was consumed by the fire of lust. I am not saying this to make you feel guilty, my dear friend. Guilt is another form of suffering, another trap for the mind. The past is past. It cannot be changed. What matters is this moment, this choice, this opportunity to begin again. Every moment is a new beginning. Every breath is a chance to choose differently. The Buddha taught us about right effort. This means making wise choices about where we direct our energy. It means cultivating wholesome qualities and abandoning unwholesome qualities. It means protecting the mind from harmful influences and nourishing it with beneficial ones. Right effort in relation to lust means being careful about what you expose yourself to. If you keep feeding the fire, it will keep burning. If you stop adding fuel, it will begin to die down. This might mean making practical changes in your life. It might mean removing certain apps from your phone, avoiding certain websites, being mindful of what you watch and what you read. Some people resist this idea. They say they should be free to look at whatever they want, to think whatever they want, to indulge in whatever fantasies arise. They call this freedom. But is it really freedom when you are compelled by your desires? Is it really freedom when you cannot stop even when you want to? True freedom comes not from unlimited indulgence, but from mastery over your own mind. A horse that has never been trained will run wild, controlled by its impulses, driven by its fears and desires. It is not free. It is at the mercy of every stimulus, every sound, every movement. But a well-trained horse can stand calmly even in chaos. It can respond to gentle guidance. It has learned discipline, and through discipline it has found a different kind of freedom. Your mind is like that horse, my dear friend. Without training, it runs wild, chasing after every desire, fleeing from every discomfort, controlled by its conditioning. But with patient training, with wise discipline, with consistent practice, it can become calm, focused, clear, and truly free. This training is not about suppression. When you suppress something, you push it down, you hide it, you pretend it is not there. But it remains in the unconscious mind, creating tension, creating pressure, waiting to explode. This is not the way of the Buddha. The way of the Buddha is awareness, observation, understanding, and letting go. When a lustful thought arises, you do not suppress it. You acknowledge it. You say, "Yes, I see you. I recognize you. You are a thought, a feeling, a pattern of energy moving through my mind." You do not judge yourself for having this thought. You do not create a story about what it means. You simply see it clearly for what it is. Then, instead of following the thought, instead of feeding it with more thoughts, more fantasies, more attention, you gently return your awareness to something else. You might return to your breath, to the sensations in your body, to the sounds around you, to whatever task you are engaged in. You redirect your attention away from the lustful thought, not violently, but calmly and firmly. At first, the thought will return. It will come back again and again, demanding your attention, insisting that you follow it. This is natural. This is the habit pattern reasserting itself. But each time it returns, you do the same thing. You acknowledge it, you let it be, and you return your attention elsewhere. You do this 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. You do this with patience, with gentleness, with determination. Gradually, over time, the thought loses its power. It comes less frequently. When it does come, it is less intense, less compelling, less able to capture your attention. The neural pathway begins to weaken. The habit begins to fade. Space opens up in your mind. This space is precious, my dear friend. This is the space where peace lives, where clarity emerges, where wisdom can be heard. When your mind is constantly churning with lustful thoughts, there is no space. Everything is crowded, cluttered, noisy. But as you practice letting go, as you practice redirecting your attention, space begins to appear. In this space, you might begin to notice other feelings that were hidden beneath the lust. Perhaps you notice loneliness. Perhaps you notice boredom. Perhaps you notice anxiety or fear or sadness. Often, lust is a way of avoiding these deeper, more uncomfortable feelings. It is a distraction, a way of running away from what we do not want to face. When you stop using lust as a distraction, you have to face what you have been running from. This can be challenging, my dear friend. This requires courage, but it is also the path to true healing. When you can be present with your loneliness, when you can sit with your boredom, when you can feel your fear without running away, these feelings begin to transform. They begin to teach you. They begin to lose their power over you. The Buddha taught that all suffering comes from not understanding the true nature of reality. We suffer because we believe in permanence when everything is impermanent. We suffer because we believe in a separate self when everything is interconnected. We suffer because we crave pleasure and reject pain when both are natural parts of life. Lust is based on misunderstanding. It is based on the belief that happiness comes from outside, from obtaining and possessing things, from satisfying every desire. But true happiness, true peace, true contentment comes from within. It comes from a mind that is not tossed about by cravings, a mind that has found its center, a mind that rests in awareness itself. When you are deeply at peace within yourself, you still experience attraction. You still appreciate beauty. You still feel energy and aliveness. But these experiences move through you without catching you, without hooking you, without pulling you off center. You can enjoy the sunset without needing to possess it. You can appreciate a beautiful person without objectifying them. You can feel desire without being enslaved by it. This is the freedom that comes from practice, my dear friend. This is the strength that comes from training the mind. This is the clarity that emerges when the waters of your consciousness become still. It is available to you. It is your birthright. But you must be willing to do the work, to face the challenges, to practice with patience and consistency. Some people ask me, what is wrong with pleasure? What is wrong with enjoying the body? What is wrong with sexuality? And I tell them there is nothing wrong with pleasure. The Buddha did not teach us to be cold, dead, unfeeling beings. He taught us to be awake, alive, free. Pleasure is not the problem. Craving is the problem. Attachment is the problem. The belief that pleasure can bring lasting happiness is the problem. Enjoy pleasure when it arises naturally, without grasping, without clinging, without making it more important than it is. Enjoy a good meal, but do not become obsessed with food. Enjoy the warmth of the sun, but do not demand that it never set. Enjoy connection with others, but do not try to possess them or control them. This is the middle path. When it comes to lust specifically, the problem is not the feeling itself, but how the feeling takes over your mind, how it weakens your clarity, how it drains your energy, how it creates suffering for yourself and potentially for others. When you objectify another person as simply an object for your pleasure, you create harm. When you become addicted to stimulation, you create harm. When you lose control of your own mind, you create harm. The path of practice is about reducing harm and increasing freedom. Every time you choose awareness over unconsciousness, every time you choose presence over distraction, every time you choose freedom over compulsion, you are walking the path. You are strengthening your mind. You are reclaiming your power. I want to talk to you about the concept of brahmacharya, which is one of the ethical guidelines in Buddhist and yogic traditions. It is often translated as celibacy, but its deeper meaning is about right use of energy, about living in a way that supports your highest development, about not wasting your vital force on empty pursuits. For some people, for a certain period of time, this might mean complete abstinence from sexual activity. For monks and nuns who have taken vows, this is part of their commitment. But for most people living in the world, brahmacharya means something more flexible. It means bringing consciousness to this area of life. It means not being controlled by your urges. It means treating others with respect and dignity. It means preserving your energy for what truly matters. You must find your own understanding of this principle, my dear friend. You must discover what it means for you in your life. But whatever approach you take, the question to ask yourself is this: Does my relationship with sexual energy support my freedom and well-being, or does it undermine it? Am I the master of this energy, or is it the master of me? Be honest in your answer. Do not lie to yourself. Do not make excuses. Do not rationalize. Just look clearly at your life and see the truth. If you find that lust has weakened your mind, if you find that you are not free, if you find that you are suffering, then perhaps it is time to make a change. Change begins with a decision, with an intention, with a commitment. You decide that you want to be free. You set an intention to practice awareness. You commit to doing what is necessary to reclaim your power. This is not easy, my dear friend. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But it is possible. Many have walked this path before you. Many have found freedom. You can too. One helpful practice is to cultivate gratitude and appreciation for the blessings in your life. When the mind is filled with gratitude, there is less room for craving. When you appreciate what you have, you are less driven to seek what you do not have. Take time each day to reflect on the good things in your life. Your health, your food, your shelter, your relationships, your opportunities. Feel genuine thankfulness for these gifts. Another helpful practice is to engage in activities that bring you genuine joy and fulfillment. Often people turn to lust out of boredom, out of emptiness, out of a lack of meaning in their lives. When you fill your life with meaningful activities, with creativity, with service, with learning, with connection, there is less pull toward empty pleasures. Develop your talents, pursue your interests, help others, create something beautiful, learn something new. These activities nourish your mind in a completely different way than lust does. They build you up instead of tearing you down. They strengthen your mind instead of weakening it. They bring lasting satisfaction instead of fleeting pleasure followed by emptiness. Also cultivate wholesome friendships. Spend time with people who support your practice, who encourage your growth, who remind you of your highest values. Avoid spending too much time with people who pull you down, who mock your efforts, who encourage indulgence. The company we keep has a powerful effect on our minds. Choose your companions wisely. Read inspiring books. Listen to wise teachings. Surround yourself with beauty and truth. Fill your mind with nourishing thoughts instead of toxic ones. Just as you would choose healthy food for your body, choose healthy content for your mind. Be very selective about what you allow into your consciousness. Remember that every input affects you. Every image you see, every word you read, every conversation you have leaves an impression on your mind. These impressions accumulate over time, shaping your thoughts, influencing your choices, determining the quality of your inner life. If you fill your mind with lustful images and thoughts, your mind will become lustful. If you fill your mind with peace and wisdom, your mind will become peaceful and wise. This is not about being perfect, my dear friend. This is not about never making mistakes or never experiencing difficult moments. This is about direction, about intention, about doing your best with where you are right now. Some days will be easier than others. Some moments you will feel strong and some moments you will feel weak. This is the nature of the path. What matters is that you keep going, that you keep practicing, that you keep returning to awareness. When you do slip, when you do indulge in lust, when you do get caught by craving, do not waste energy on guilt and self-hatred. These emotions only create more suffering. Instead, simply notice what happened. Learn from it. Ask yourself, what triggered this? What was I feeling? What need was I trying to meet? How can I respond differently next time? Treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend who is struggling. You would not berate them or judge them harshly. You would be kind, understanding, encouraging. Offer yourself that same kindness. Say to yourself, I see that you struggled today. That is okay. That is part of being human. Tomorrow is a new day. Let us try again. This attitude of compassionate self-awareness is essential to the practice. Harsh judgment and self-criticism only strengthen the very patterns you are trying to release. They create tension, stress, and shame, which often lead to more seeking of comfort through indulgence. But gentle awareness, honest observation, and kind encouragement create space for real change. The Buddha told a story about a man who was shot with an arrow. He said that if someone is shot with one arrow, they feel pain. But if they are then shot with a second arrow, they feel much more pain. The first arrow is the inevitable pain of life, the challenges we all face. The second arrow is the suffering we add on top through our reactions, our judgments, our stories about what has happened. When you experience the pull of lust, that is the first arrow. It is a natural arising, a biological impulse, a conditioned pattern. But when you then judge yourself harshly, when you create stories about being weak or bad or hopeless, when you spiral into shame and despair, that is the second arrow. You do not have to shoot yourself with that second arrow, my dear friend. Just experience what is happening without adding extra layers of suffering on top. Notice, oh, here is a strong desire. Here is the pull of lust. My mind is being challenged right now. This is difficult. And then practice your tools. Return to awareness. Breathe. Redirect your attention. Do what you have learned to do, one moment at a time. Over weeks and months of practice, you will notice changes. They may be subtle at first, but they will accumulate. Your mind will feel clearer. Your energy will be higher. Your relationships will improve. Your work will deepen. Your meditation will become easier. Your sense of self-respect will grow. These are the fruits of practice, my dear friend. These are the rewards of doing the work. But do not practice for rewards. Do not practice because you are trying to get somewhere or become someone. Practice because this moment right now is an opportunity to be awake. Practice because you can choose freedom in this moment, regardless of what happened in the past or what might happen in the future. Practice because it is the most honest, most true, most authentic response to being alive. Each moment is complete in itself. Each breath is sacred. Each choice matters. When you live this way, fully present, fully aware, fully engaged, life becomes rich with meaning. You do not need to chase after pleasures because the present moment itself is full. You do not need to grasp at objects of desire because you have found the source of contentment within. This does not mean that life becomes bland or boring. Quite the opposite. When you are truly present, everything becomes more vivid, more alive, more real. The colors are brighter, the sounds are clearer, the tastes are richer. You begin to notice small miracles that you walked past before without seeing. A flower blooming, a bird singing, a child laughing, the play of light on water. These simple things become sources of profound joy when you have the eyes to see them. Lust narrows your awareness down to a single obsessive focus. It puts blinders on your consciousness so that you can only see one thing, the object of your desire. But when you release that obsessive focus, when you let go of that grasping, your awareness expands. You become available to the fullness of life, to the infinite richness of each moment, to the beauty and mystery that surrounds you always. I want to share with you a deeper teaching, my dear friend. Behind all lust, behind all craving, behind all grasping, there is a profound longing. It is a longing for wholeness, for completion, for coming home. We feel separate, isolated, incomplete. We feel that something is missing. And so we reach out, we grasp, we try to fill the emptiness. But the emptiness cannot be filled from outside. No person, no pleasure, no experience can complete you because you are already complete. The feeling of incompleteness is an illusion, a misunderstanding about your true nature. You are not a separate, isolated fragment of existence. You are an expression of the whole, intimately connected to everything that is. When you realize this deeply, the desperate reaching stops, the grasping relaxes, the craving loses its urgency. This is why meditation and spiritual practice are so important. They help you to realize your true nature, to discover what you really are beneath all the thoughts and feelings and stories. You are not your body, though you have a body. You are not your thoughts, though thoughts arise in your mind. You are not your desires, though desires come and go. You are the awareness in which all of this appears, the consciousness that witnesses everything, the space in which the entire drama of life unfolds. When you rest in this awareness, when you identify with this consciousness rather than with the passing phenomena, you find a peace that does not depend on circumstances. You find a joy that does not come from getting what you want. You find a love that does not require an object. This is the ultimate freedom, my dear friend. This is what the practice is pointing toward. But we cannot skip steps. We cannot jump from where we are to that ultimate realization. We must walk the path step by step. We must do the daily work of training the mind, of cultivating awareness, of letting go of our attachments. We must deal with our lust, our anger, our confusion, our fears. We must clean the window of our consciousness so that the light can shine through. Be patient with this process. Trust that every effort you make has value. Trust that you are moving in the right direction even when it feels difficult. Trust that the peace you seek is not somewhere far away, but closer than your own breath, nearer than your own heartbeat. It is here now, always. You just need to learn to recognize it, to rest in it, to let it reveal itself. And remember, my dear friend, that you are not alone on this path. Countless beings throughout history have walked this way. Countless practitioners right now, in this very moment, are working with the same challenges you face. There is a great community of practice, a sangha that extends across time and space, united in the intention to awaken, to be free, to live with wisdom and compassion. Draw strength from this. When you feel discouraged, remember that others have faced what you face and have prevailed. When you feel weak, remember that you can call on the strength of all those who have walked before. When you feel alone, remember that you are part of something much larger than yourself, a great wave of consciousness moving toward greater awareness, greater freedom, greater love. The path is long, but every step counts. The journey is challenging, but every effort matters. The work is difficult, but the rewards are beyond measure. You can do this, my dear friend. You have everything you need already within you. The Buddha nature, the capacity for awakening, the seed of perfect wisdom, it is already there. You just need to water it, to tend it, to give it the conditions it needs to grow. So practice with diligence, practice with patience, practice with compassion for yourself and for all beings. When lust arises, meet it with awareness. When craving comes, meet it with understanding. When the mind wanders, gently bring it back, again and again and again. This is the path. This is the way. This is how you strengthen your mind, reclaim your power, and find the freedom that is your true nature. May you be well, my dear friend. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you awaken to the truth of who you really are. May all beings everywhere awaken from the dream of separation and realize the oneness that has always been. May wisdom guide us, may compassion embrace us, may all beings be liberated from suffering. Walk this path with courage and with love. Trust in the practice. Trust in the teaching. Trust in your own Buddha nature. You are worthy of freedom. You are capable of peace. You deserve to live with clarity and strength. The mind can be trained. The heart can be opened. The truth can be realized. It is possible for you. It is your birthright. It is why you are here. Go gently on your journey. Be kind to yourself and to others. Remember that every moment is a new beginning. No matter how many times you have fallen, you can stand up again. No matter how lost you have been, you can find your way. The light of awareness is always available to guide you home. Return to it again and again. It will never fail you. Nam O Buddha.